Imagine two babies, born together, separated at birth, and raised miles away from each other. They live separate lives, separate families, separate homes. They have no idea the other even exists, and yet, without ever meeting, they live almost identical lives. This is not fiction. This is the true story of the twin Jims, a case so bizarre, so creepy, that scientists still puzzle over it to this day. And once you hear their story, you may never look at coincidence the same way again. The year was 1939. The place, Ohio. Two baby boys were born. They were identical twins. Their biological mother, unable to care for them, put them up for adoption. But here's the twist. Each baby was adopted by a different family. They would grow up apart, completely unaware that their twin even existed. Their new families gave them names. And here's where fate first begins to whisper. Both families, without knowing about each other, chose the same name. They were both called James. One became James Arthur Springer, the other James Edward Lewis. The world would eventually know them simply as the Jim twins. Now think about this. These boys grew up in different towns, raised by different parents, different environments, different influences, and yet their lives unfolded like two copies of the same story. Both Jims had a childhood dog, and in another eerie twist, both dogs had the exact same name, Toy. As they grew older, both struggled in school with the same subject, spelling, and both excelled at the same subject, math. Their early adult lives almost mirror images. Each Jim married a woman named Linda. Both marriages eventually ended in divorce. And after the divorces, each Jim remarried. Their second wives were both named Betty. Coincidence? Wait, it gets stranger. Each Jim had a son. Jim Lewis named his son James Allen. Jim Springer named his son James Allen, spelt with a double L, but pronounced exactly the same. That's not just chance. That's the universe winking at us, daring us to notice, and it doesn't stop there. Both Jims had similar career paths. Each worked in law enforcement at some point in their lives. Both pursued part-time careers as security guards, and both enjoyed carpentry and drawing as hobbies. Even in health they mirrored each other. Both suffered from migraines. Both were heavy smokers. Both drove the same make of car, a Chevrolet. And if that's not enough, each Jim took vacations at the same beach in Florida, the very same stretch of sand, without ever knowing the other had been there. For nearly 40 years, the Jims lived these parallel lives, unaware of each other's existence. But in 1979, destiny finally stepped in. One of the twins, Jim Lewis, knew he had been adopted and grew curious about his origins. He petitioned the court and, through records, discovered his twin brother. After being apart for decades, the two finally connected by phone. When they spoke for the first time, they were stunned at the eerie similarities in their lives, and soon after, they met face to face. The reunion made headlines worldwide. Newspapers called it one of the strangest human stories ever told. But the story didn't end there. The bizarre case of the Jim twins attracted the attention of researchers, particularly Dr. Thomas Bouchard at the University of Minnesota. Bouchard had been studying identical twins, separated at birth, and when he learned of the Jim twins, he knew he had struck gold. The Minnesota twin family study became one of the most famous psychological studies ever conducted. When researchers examined the Jims, they found a stunning array of similarities, down to the smallest details. Both chewed their fingernails. Both had the same unusual habit of leaving love notes for their wives in hidden places. Both gained weight and lost it at the same points in their lives. It was as if their lives were being written from the same script. The case of the Jim twins reignited the age-old debate. How much of who we are is shaped by genetics and how much by the environment? On one hand, these eerie parallels suggested that DNA has a far stronger hand in shaping behavior than previously thought. On the other hand, some believed the coincidences might have been exaggerated or selectively reported. But even skeptics had to admit, the sheer number of parallels was hard to dismiss. Think about it. These men weren't raised by the same people. They didn't even know the other existed. And yet their lives unfolded almost identically. Wives with the same names, sons with the same names, dogs with the same names, jobs, cars, vacations, habits. At some point, the word coincidence begins to feel flimsy. This isn't just random chance. This is something deeper. Destiny? Fate? A cosmic blueprint that shapes us no matter where we go? The Grimm twins leave us with questions science can't fully answer. The Grimm twins became celebrities of a sort in the late 1970s and early 1980s. They were interviewed on television, studied by scientists, and featured in numerous articles. Their story has become one of the most famous examples of synchronicity in modern history. But more than that, their story forces us to confront the mystery of existence itself. What if our lives are not as random as we think? What if unseen threads are weaving our choices, guiding us to people, places, and outcomes? What if coincidence is really just the universe showing its hand? The Grimm twins remind us that life is stranger than fiction. Two men, born together, separated at birth, and reunited decades later, only to discover that they had been living almost identical lives. Some call it creepy, some call it fate, scientists call it genetics, but whatever label you give it, one thing is undeniable. The story of the Grimm twins shakes our understanding of free will, destiny, and the mysterious forces that shape our lives. And maybe that's the real lesson of their story, that behind the surface of our everyday lives, something deeper is at play, something we can't quite measure, something that feels an awful lot like destiny. This is the legacy code, and these are the stories that remind us nothing in life is ever truly random. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Thank you for watching.